menggiling teman-teman. Terus proses fermentasi. Nah, proses fermentasi ini mempengaruhi mau wine atau yang arabica atau robusta atau liberica, ada lagi. Tapi proses fermentasi ini proses menyimpan kopi dalam jangka waktu yang lebih panjang. Nah, wine itu teman-teman, wine gayo disimpan selama sebulan. Jadi makanya harganya bisa 5 kali lipat dari harga biji kopi umumnya. Karena memang proses fermentasinya lebih lama. Apakah ini halal atau haram? Itu bukan domain saya menjawab. Tapi setahu saya tidak mempengaruhi produksi kadar alkohol di fermentasi ini. Jadi menurut saya, asumsi saya ini halal gitu. Terus cooling ini dari fermentasi tadi dipecahkan, tinggal bijinya aja gitu. Nanti ada visualnya. Terakhir baru dikeringkan. Nah, proses mengeringkan itu ada beberapa metode lagi teman-teman. Nanti kita lihat videonya ya. Ini teknik mencuci.
The wash process, sometimes known as wet process, is commonly found in many coffee-growing countries around the world, including parts of Africa and most of Central and South America. The methods and equipment used to perform this type of processing
Nah, kalau udah visual gini, yang pasti udah full wash dia.
universal. It's designed to remove the coffee fruit from the coffee seed quickly and thoroughly after the coffee is picked, so that it can be dried clean in its parchment layer. In this video, we'll be exploring just one example of the wash process by following along with a producer washing his coffee in the highlands of Peru. Generally speaking, the wash process can be an efficient
Nah, ini tadi
coffee seeds
proses pemetikan yang mentah, matang sama terlalu matang.
It's also a space saver for small producers who do their own wet milling and some of their own drying on their property, as we'll see in this video from Finca Nicolahica. To begin, coffee is harvested ripe when the coffee is dark red, bright red, purple, or yellow, depending on the variety or cultivar. The cherry is selectively picked by hand and carried to a receiving point. At this farm, the cherry is delivered to an area around a small mechanical depulping machine, which is equipment commonly found on farms in Latin America. Before being depulped, it's weighed, rinsed, and given a first sort for quality. Some producers do what's called a float test of their coffee cherries. They submerge the cherries in water and scoop off any cherries that float to the top of the tank, which is a sign of a defect.
Nah teman-teman, kalau lihat dari cara dia mensortir tadi, teknik panen apa yang dipakai ini? Teknik panen manual dengan cara sekaligus ya, karena yang matang sama yang belum matang juga dipetik semua kan. Nah, artinya dari proses memetik juga itu udah bagian dari effort si petaninya. Karena apa? Ketika nanti di roasting atau sudah jadi, itu ada penurunan. Yang belum matang itu akan dipisahkan terakhir. Mau capek di awal atau mau dicapai di akhir. Nah, rata-rata kopi yang sudah dalam kemasan ini sudah yang rejectnya atau yang jelek-jeleknya udah dibuang-buangin gitu. Jadi nanti ada istilah penurunan 20% ketika kita beli kopi. Kita order 1 kilo, yang datang tuh hanya 800 gram. Kenapa? Karena ada 20% yang reject itu dibuang. Jadi jangan kaget teman-teman. Loh kok pas ditimbang hanya 800 gram bukan 1 kilo. Nah, atau harganya ditambahkan 20% dari harga 1 kilonya. Ada pertanyaan teman-teman?
At this farm, the cherry is delivered to an area around a small mechanical depulping machine, which is equipment commonly found on farms in Latin America. Before being depulped, it's weighed, rinsed, and given a first sort for quality. Some producers do what's called a float test of their coffee cherries. They submerge the cherries in water and scoop off any cherries that float to the top of the tank, which is a sign of a defect.
Tuh, alat pulpingnya.
Whole coffee fruit is then put through the depulper. This machine squeezes the seed out of the tough cherry-like skin, which is known as the fruit's pulp. Depulping typically happens as soon as possible in the wash process, usually within 8 to 12 hours of the harvest.
Nah, kulit cherrynya
The
dipisahin.
seeds are still covered in their sticky fruit material, which is called mucilage. This mucilage is removed throughout the washing process.
Nah,
The
ini
sticky
green bean
seeds
yang
are typically transferred to the fermentation.
tersedia di petani-petani
The
kita.
pulp left over is usually used for compost or fuel, or is
Jadi
discarded.
ketika sudah dicuci dan dipisahkan kulitnya, itu sudah bisa dijual oleh petani. Belum di roasting, belum di proses lain gitu.
See that the fermentation tank is made from ceramic tile, and the coffee is collected in a pile in the bottom of the tank. In this case, the sticky seeds are kept dry
Ah, kan
in
masih ada yang
the
sisa, kan?
fermentation style, which means they're not submerged in water during the fermentation. The seeds will be left like this overnight to ferment in the tank. Fermentation happens in every type of post-harvest processing, but in the washed process, the producer tries to moderate the time and temperature, as well as the velocity of the fermentation process. Fermentation is useful because it will help soften the fruit mucilage, making it easier to remove.
Nah, di
from
fermentasi
washing.
ini tergantung durasi, karakter
The next day, the
kopi,
actual
profil
washing
kopi
begins.
itu juga dipengaruhi dari
Producer first
proses
makes sure the
fermentasi.
mucilage is fermented enough by inspecting a sample with his hands to feel how sticky or tacky the material is. He then fills the tank with fresh water to submerge the coffee. While the coffee is still submerged, he'll agitate it with a long wooden tool. The vigorous agitation in the water removes the mucilage, leaving the coffee clean in its parchment layer and ready for drying. You can see how the water becomes murky as it starts to fill with mucilage material. Farmers often repeat the process of washing the coffee by draining the murky water out and refilling the tank with fresh, clean
Kenapa
water.
sih yang pilih video ini teman-teman?
Water used in this
Karena
process
ini yang
needs to be
paling
purified,
mirip dengan
treated, or disposed of
Indonesia.
carefully.
Nah, saya belum menemukan
Mucilage
tutorial
before
atau referensi
washing will contain
YouTube
fresh water or
yang
groundwater
versi
if
Indonesianya.
it's not handled properly. On this farm, the producer washes his coffee 3 times.
3 kali coba teman-teman.
While the tank is full of water, he also removes any seeds that float to the top, which is a sign that they are damaged or defective. Once the seeds are clean from mucilage, this producer does another quality sort. He brings the washed coffee to the drying patios and uses a portable sorting table that allows him to remove any of the remaining coffee cherry husks as well as defective or deformed beans. Not all producers use tools like this, but some places like Peru, Costa Rica, and Colombia, this is a fairly common practice. Here you can clearly see the uniformity of the coffee that has passed through the sorting device. After the final sort, in this case you can see that the coffee is being dried on tarps on a wooden patio under a plastic cover. The drying environment is designed to control the temperature and airflow in order to dry the coffees efficiently while preserving the quality. The seeds are spread into a thin layer